Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us today. What you're about to hear is more than just a story. It's a powerful reminder of respect, courage, and unexpected consequences. But before we begin, let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love seeing our global community come together. If you enjoy real stories that move and inspire, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we've got another unforgettable story coming tomorrow. Now, settle in. This one's going to stay with you. What one mom did after a tourist was attacked shocked everyone. It was a crisp, golden afternoon in the heart of London. The cobblestone streets shimmered under the sunlight, and Buckingham Palace stood tall in the distance, majestic as ever. Rachel Morgan, a 35-year-old single mother from Austin, Texas, had dreamed of this moment for years. Standing beside her was her 9-year-old son, Ethan, wide-eyed with wonder. For Rachel, this trip wasn't just a vacation, it was a promise fulfilled. She'd worked 2 jobs, skipped luxuries, and saved for nearly 5 years to bring Ethan here. They had already seen the London Eye, crossed Tower Bridge, and wandered through history-packed museums. But today was different. Today, they were here to witness the iconic Royal Guard parade with horses, something Ethan had seen only in books and videos. The two of them made their way through the growing crowd, eventually finding a spot near the front gates. Ethan tugged at Rachel's sleeve, pointing eagerly. "Mom, look at that one. He's huge." Rachel smiled, brushing a lock of hair from his forehead. "That's not just any horse, sweetheart," she whispered. "They're trained to guard royalty. They're brave, disciplined, and special." Just then, the distant sound of hoofbeats echoed off the buildings. A line of Royal Guard horses approached, their movements perfectly synchronized. The crowd quieted, awestruck by the regal beauty of the moment. The horses, polished tack gleaming, moved with precision. Each rider sat tall and proud, emotionless beneath their tall black helmets. But not everyone in the crowd was there to admire. From the back came a group of loud, college-age tourists, laughing, pushing, clearly intoxicated. One of them, a tall guy in a backward baseball cap, shoved past people to reach the barricade. "They're just horses, man," he laughed. "What's the big deal?" Rachel felt her stomach tighten. She glanced at Ethan, who was still fixated on the horses. Something didn't feel right. The guards hadn't reacted, but the tension was rising. One of the tourists pulled out her phone, already recording. Another dared the first guy to step closer. Rachel instinctively reached for Ethan's hand. The air shifted. Something was coming. Something that would turn this magical afternoon into a moment no one would ever forget. The moment turned tense fast. The man in the backward cap, Brandon, laughed louder than before, clearly playing for the camera. "Watch this," he said, stepping over the low barrier, ignoring the sharp command from one of the guards. Rachel's heart sank. She pulled Ethan closer, wrapping her arm protectively around his shoulder. The massive black stallion tightened, shifted beneath his rider. His ears pinned back, his muscles twitched. Even from where she stood, Rachel could see the horse was uneasy. Captain Sean Walker, the rider atop Titan, gripped the reins tighter, his voice stern. "Sir, step back. This is your final warning." But Brandon wasn't listening. He was showing off now, soaking in the attention. His friend Lexi was filming, her phone tilted at just the right angle to catch the drama. "Come on, man," she laughed. "Get closer. This is going viral." Rachel's instincts screamed. This wasn't just foolish anymore. It was dangerous. Brandon reached out his hand, just inches from Titan's muzzle. The horse let out a low snort, his hooves shuffling. Then it happened. In a flash, Titan reared up, his massive front legs kicking high into the air. The sound of hooves striking nothing but open space echoed like a thunderclap. Brandon stumbled back, slipping on the stone pavement and crashing hard onto his back. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some screamed, others froze in disbelief. Titan didn't stop. His training told him to stand firm, but the pressure had shattered his discipline. He charged forward, his powerful legs pounding the ground. Captain Walker struggled to control him, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Stand down! Stand down!" But Titan was beyond hearing. Rachel grabbed Ethan, hoisting him into her arms as people began to scatter. She scanned the crowd for a way out, spotting a narrow alley to their left. Without thinking, she ran. Behind her, she heard shouting, panicked voices, and the terrifying sound of horses in distress. Brandon tried to crawl away, but Titan slammed into him, knocking him into a nearby vendor's cart. Fruit and trinkets scattered everywhere. Lexi dropped her phone. The video was still recording. And just like that, the calm, royal square turned into a chaotic, unforgettable scene. Sirens wailed in the distance as chaos gave way to stunned silence. The once lively square now looked like a war zone. People shaken, vendors scrambling to collect their goods, and several guards urgently working to calm the still agitated horses. Titan stood a few feet from the overturned cart, nostrils flaring, flanks heaving. Captain Sean Walker gripped the reins, finally managing to guide the massive stallion back into control, though the tension in Titan's body hadn't eased. Rachel crouched in the alleyway, holding Ethan close. His small hands clung to her jacket, his eyes wide with fear. "Are the horses mad at us, Mom?" he whispered. She gently shook her head, brushing his hair back. "No, baby. They were scared, just like we were." Her voice trembled as much from adrenaline as from emotion. Back in the square, Brandon sat on the cobblestones, clutching his ribs, pale and groaning. His cocky attitude was long gone. Lexi stood nearby, crying, her phone still in her hand. Its screen cracked, but the recording still running. When police arrived, they wasted no time. An officer approached Brandon, scanning the scene before turning to him with a glare. "What happened here?" Lexi, still shaken, stammered, "We were just messing around. We didn't mean for this to happen." Rachel stepped forward, her voice sharp and steady. They were warned. Several times, the guards told them to back off, but they ignored every word. They taunted that horse until it snapped. The officer turned to her, taking in her words and the fear still lingering in her expression. "Are you and your son okay, ma'am?" he asked. Rachel nodded. "We're fine. But those animals, they were pushed beyond their limit. They didn't deserve that." Nearby, Captain Walker dismounted, walking Titan away from the crowd toward a trailer park down the road. The horse's legs trembled slightly, and his eyes darted around, still on edge. Rachel watched them go, a wave of sympathy tightening her chest. Titan wasn't just a horse. He was a soldier, one who had been pushed past his breaking point by ignorance and arrogance. And as the flashing lights of emergency vehicles lit up the fading afternoon sky, one thing became clear. This was no longer a simple tourist mishap. It was a moment of reckoning. That night, Rachel couldn't sleep. The images kept replaying in her mind. Titan rearing up, the panic in the crowd, the fear in Ethan's eyes. She sat by the hotel window, scrolling through her phone. Videos of the incident were everywhere. Social media was blowing up. Hashtags like Royal Guard Chaos and Horse vs. Tourist were trending worldwide. The internet had turned the moment into entertainment, but Rachel knew better. That wasn't a viral clip. That was trauma. For the people, yes, but especially for the horse. Down on the floor, Ethan was coloring quietly, his earlier fear softened by time and distance. But every few minutes, he'd glance up and ask, "Mom, is Titan going to be okay?" And Rachel didn't know how to answer. The next morning, she made a decision. She asked the hotel concierge about the Royal Guard stables. Then she found a trusted hotel sitter to stay with Ethan and caught a cab across the city. She wasn't sure what she was even going to say, but she knew she had to try. The stables were just outside the city, surrounded by quiet fields. A guard stood watch at the gate. "Can I help you, ma'am?" he asked. Rachel hesitated, then spoke firmly. "My name's Rachel Morgan. I was at the palace yesterday. I just want to know if the horse, Titan, is okay." After a long moment, the guard nodded. "Wait here." A few minutes later, Captain Walker appeared. He looked exhausted, but he managed a faint smile. "You again," he said gently. "What brings you here?" "I had to check on him," Rachel said, "and to thank you for doing everything you could to keep everyone safe." Walker's eyes softened. "Come on," he said. "I'll take you to him." They walked through the quiet stables until they reached Titan's stall. The massive black stallion stood inside, head low, eyes tired. A vet stood nearby, finishing up an exam. "He's okay physically," she said. "No injuries, but emotionally, that's going to take time." Rachel stepped closer, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. Titan lifted his head, his eyes locking with hers. He didn't flinch when she reached out. Instead, he leaned into her touch. At that moment, she knew this wasn't over. Not for him, not for her. Titan needed someone to speak up for him, and Rachel was ready. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Rachel couldn't stand by while Titan's future hung in the balance. She launched a social media campaign called #Stand Up for Titan, sharing her firsthand experience and calling on others to support the horse who had been pushed too far. To her surprise, the movement caught fire. Thousands of people, locals, tourists, animal lovers, rallied behind Titan. Some shared their own stories of the Royal Guard horses, praising their discipline and grace. Others posted photos, messages, and art in solidarity. Captain Walker kept Rachel updated. Titan was recovering physically, but he was withdrawn, quieter than usual. The military had launched a formal investigation, and a hearing had been scheduled to determine Titan's fate. Walker wasn't sugarcoating it. There's talk of retiring him, he said. Some even want him put down. Rachel felt sick. No, that wasn't justice. That was erasing a living being because of someone else's recklessness. Determined, she contacted animal rights attorney Daniel Reese, who agreed to help pro bono. "This horse deserves a voice," he said, "and from what I've seen, you're the one to give it to him." They gathered video evidence, collected eyewitness statements, and brought in animal behavior experts to testify. 2 days before the hearing, Rachel brought Ethan to the stables. He carried a framed drawing he made, a picture of Titan with a gold crown and the words, "Our hero." When they reached the stall, Titan perked up. He nudged Ethan gently with his muzzle, and the boy giggled, the fear from that day finally melting away. On the morning of the hearing, the courthouse was packed. Supporters held signs that read, "Protect Titan" and "Justice for our horses." Rachel sat beside Captain Walker and attorney Reese, her hands trembling, but her heart resolute. When it was her turn to speak, she stood tall. "This wasn't an attack," she said. "This was a moment of fear. Titan was provoked, pushed past his limits by people who disrespected everything he represents. He didn't fail us. We failed him." When the verdict finally came, the room held its breath. "Titan will not be retired or euthanized," the judge announced. "The responsibility lies with those who ignored repeated warnings." Rachel exhaled, tears running down her cheeks. She reached for Ethan's hand. They had done it. Titan was safe, and the world had listened. We want to hear what you think. Have you ever witnessed a moment where someone pushed too far and the consequences became real? Do you believe Titan should have been held responsible for what happened, or was he simply reacting to the disrespect and pressure placed on him? Let us know in the comments below. Stories like this raise important questions about accountability, respect, and how we treat animals, especially those trained to serve and protect. If you were in Rachel's position, would you have spoken up? What would you have done differently? And what do you think should happen to people who ignore clear warnings in public spaces? Your opinion matters. Share your thoughts, your experiences, or even just how this story made you feel. Whether you're watching from Texas, London, or anywhere around the world, drop your location in the comments too. We love seeing where our viewers are tuning in from. Let's turn the comment section into a space for thoughtful conversation. And if you believe in standing up for what's right, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. We're just getting started.